With her can-do attitude, love of simple gardens and decades of experience, Charlie Dimmock is one of Britain's best-loved gardeners.
Looking good, boys.
But the new kids on the gardening block are the Rich brothers.
We want to be the brothers that change people's perceptions of gardens.
Winners of multiple medals at the Chelsea Flower Show.
Oh, wow. Good turn.
It's amazing, isn't it?
The boys have become known for their dramatic outdoor spaces. Now, these two different generations of gardening are going head-to-head.
I know they've got a gold medal, but I can come up with a few ideas.
They're meeting frustrated garden owners across the country.
Not a lot going on, is there? Not a lot.
I don't know what to do with it.
And will each pitch them a design based on their needs.
You look confused.
And budget.
Go for it.
Doesn't look like it could be our garden.
The winner
Yeah, awesome.
brings their design to life.
Hold on.
Sweet, isn't that?
And the loser has to help them build it.
Keep working, boy.
Whoa, easy.
This is what happens
Just get on with it. Sometime today would be good.
when different styles collide
I think your brother's throwing the toys out of his pram. Right, are we doing this?
to turn garden dreams into reality.
Wow. Oh, that's brilliant.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Look at that.
Oh my God. Wow.
Wow.
It's time for Charlie and the Rich brothers to find out which garden they're going to compete over this time.
Kim contacted us. They're in Manchester, and this is Dorothy, or Dot, her mum. And Mum loves her garden, loves watching the birds, but she's now not able to get out into the garden as easily as she once could.
82-year-old Dorothy has lived in her semi-detached terrace house for more than 40 years.
Do you like a drink? No?
Got a sweetie in my mouth.
Okay.
But daughter Kim now lives in London.
My dad died about 5 years ago, and my mum's lived here on her own since then. I actually spend a lot of time here because she actually did fall down the stairs 6 years ago and broke her neck.
Nothing much has been done to the garden since Kim's father died, and the space is difficult for Dorothy, who regularly uses a wheelchair to make use of.
She spends an awful lot of time at home on her own when I can't be here or when the carers can't be here. She likes to sit looking at the garden, she likes to look at the birds, so it would be nice for her to have somewhere to sit that she could do that. And also in the summer, where she could spend some time sat outside.
Kim is desperate for Dorothy to benefit from the garden, if she could only navigate her way out there safely.
So this is all about making the garden accessible.
Yeah, it looks pretty treacherous. I mean, everything looks a little bit worse for wear, doesn't it? Cracks in the wall there. I mean, that's quite a big job to tackle, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. But do we want to do the bottom bit of the garden?
Yeah, well, I think if we're extending the patio and making that a nice place to sit, it's always nice to look at something, isn't it?
And if she does like the birds, then kind of introducing a few trees and shrubs and plants will only bring them.
So what can the garden rescue team do to turn Kim and Dorothy's plot into a safe haven?
Budget-wise, though, 4,000.
Ooh, that sounds quite good.
It does, but it could be big engineering works,
yeah.
couldn't it?
Yeah.
So I think this is going to challenge us, not only with design, but actually building it as well. We'll be getting in each other's way.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, yeah, you say that now.
To get a better idea of the job, the designers head to Manchester to meet Kim and Dorothy and see the garden for themselves.
It looks more uneven and different levels than the pictures even.
Yes, it looks dramatic, doesn't it?
I don't think it's really a garden for the older generation.
Well, I'll stay here then. So it is.
I don't think I even want to go down there, don't worry.
No, it looks lethal, doesn't it?
It does.
It's a bit crazy, isn't it? That's not
Yeah.
safe looking at all.
Even that top area as well, it's not very much room, is there, to enjoy it?
No, and
You know, I struggle to squeeze past
Well,
there.
if you want to go sit down there, I feel like you can't, can
Yeah.
you? You can just walk it. That's all you can do at the moment.
Pretty plain down there as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
A few shrubs, bit of lawn.
Yeah, there's not much.
not much going on.
No.
The garden is as daunting as they feared, so the trio now need to find out as much as they can about the changes Kim and Dorothy would like to see. Charlie heads inside to Dorothy's cosy conservatory.
Oh, Dorothy, this is a nice snug spot, isn't it?
It is. It's just what an old lady needs.
Got a great view of the garden from here.
Yeah. My little glass shed.
Do you sit out here lots?
Yes. When it's warm.
And what do you like watching?
Birds.
You're a bit of a twitcher, are you?
I certainly am.
Outside, the brothers have made it safely to the bottom of those awful steps to chat to Kim.
Hey.
Hey.
Hello, hi.
Hello, hi. So we know that obviously the safety issue is very important for you. Is that something that you feel plays on your mind with the garden?
It is. So the spaces up at the top there, they're quite narrow, so she's not able really to go there because she's got a walking frame or a wheelchair, but she's not able to use this space, which would be very nice, that she can look down at the garden and see the birds and things. You can see that she's got a bird table and she's got a
Yes,
bird.
the biggest bird table.
Yeah, it's a good looking bird table.
Do you like feeding the birds?
Yes. That's the trouble. I can't get down those steps now.
So we ought to be doing something up the top then.
I could do something that I can get hold of.
So I see you've got a lovely bird bath there.
Even though it's close to the house, they come in and they splash.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All the emphasis so far has been on the vertiginous top half of the garden. What thoughts does Kim have about the underused lower end?
Well, I had the lawn relaid a few years ago, but it's just as bad again now.
So something that suits the situation of the garden a bit better.
Absolutely. It doesn't have to be all grass.
So somewhere that's definitely safe and accessible for Dorothy, mainly at the top.
Yeah.
But then also friends and family and yourself.
Yeah.
If you'd like to come and use the garden, then something down here as well.
That would be perfect.
Garden for everyone.
Perfect.
Even though the budget is decent, there are some serious issues for our designers to address here. It's going to be a challenge. So the trio waste no more time and head straight to their drawing boards. Each of them will come up with a design that works within Kim's budget. She and Dorothy will then have to choose the winning design, and the loser will help the winner build the garden. Kim's £4,000 will be used to buy all the materials for their new garden, because Charlie and the Rich brothers, along with a crack team of landscapers, will provide the labour. It's time for the designers to pitch their ideas to Kim, while Dorothy stays inside in the warm.
Oh, those steps are a bit of a trek, aren't they?
Right from the off, there couldn't be clearer evidence that safety must be their first consideration.
Hey. Whoa. Come on, carry on. Carry on, you didn't... Oh, you said break a leg before.
I didn't need to come true then.
First off, we're going to make this garden safe.
Top of Charlie's list is access to the garden for Dorothy.
So let me explain. This is the house here and the patio doors. Okay. What I am suggesting we do to make that space up the top much more usable for Dorothy is to put a deck out that is on stilts and put rails round so that it'll be safe, there's no going off the edge, which will make that area a much better seating area at the top of the garden. I've made the steps bigger and it will draw you down into the garden, so it'll make it much more inviting to come down here. At the moment you sort of look at the steps and think no, but by making them wider and safer and even, and also opening it up like that, it draws you down into the garden.
The Rich brothers take a different tack, putting equal focus on both top and lower areas.
It's very much a garden of kind of like two halves in a way, so primarily for Dorothy, so this would be the top area, but then also what we wanted to do was make the garden down here quite beautiful as well. So the top area, what we wanted to do was we wanted to extend the patio out, so you've got twice as much room at the top. What we're going to do is we're going to take up the old paving as well, And then what we're going to do is we're going to try and use, just for this top area, what we do is we clean off the best of the paving and reuse them there for that top level.
So both designers have decided to extend the top area. But what has each planned for the bottom? Charlie's thinking about what Dorothy will experience from up on her new deck.
Now, Dorothy said that it was all about her and the birds. So to encourage the birds in, I have put a small pond, but it will literally be like a wildlife pond down at the bottom of the garden here, very shallow on the edge with some pebbles or rocks in so the birds can come land on there and easily bathe.
The problem with having the pond down there, as I see it, is that this garden, that tree at the back, it sheds an awful lot, and I can just see the pond being full of leaves all
Oh,
the time.
okay. The other way we could do it is just bring water in by using bird baths, your mum's bird bath, you know, up on the deck, and then maybe have some of the more hanging bird baths in the shrubs.
Charlie seems to have missed the mark with her wildlife pond idea. So have the brothers got a better thought for this part of the garden?
So this middle area, we wanted to pave it with brick, and you've got this lovely wall next to it, and it's just a nice way of unifying the garden. We want to work with the conditions of this garden, and you know it's shady, so by introducing a kind of a seating area with planting, it's going to really get rid of this kind of boggy lawn area. So you won't need to cut it, and it'll just kind of create a really nice usable space.
But there's one key element of the brothers' plan that Kim wants to scrutinise.
And what happens to the steps? Nothing?
So what we do is we'd use the same slabs that we're going to use down the bottom of the garden, and we lay them on top of what there's existing at the moment, and we'd make sure they were level, and we could alter some of the height as well, just with the different amount of cement underneath. So it would just be a bit more of an even, safer steps to go down, but they'd still be as steep as they are now.
Okay.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you. See you in a bit.
Cheers.
Okay?
Yep. Right.
Kim looks uncertain. Perhaps she's thinking of a garden of two halves, but in a way the designers were not expecting. But she's only half of the equation. Now she must report back to Dorothy. Will they go for Charlie's generous deck space and all new safe steps? Or will Kim be unable to resist the Rich Brothers' paved lower area that will do away with the boggy lawn? She needs another point of view.
She's at the moment, she's got a pond at the bottom to try and attract your wildlife, and maybe that's not such a great idea with all those trees.
Not with that tree down there.
No, no. But you like the idea of this decking, do you?
I like decking.
Yeah. And these steps here.
I like the handrails down the steps.
Not keen on the pond at all.
Pond?
Pond's gone.
Yeah, nice. Well, is it more budget?
Well, that's true. That was a bit more budget spent elsewhere. And the lawn.
Ooh, you had lawn, did you?
I had lawn. I kept the lawn.
Yeah, we got rid of all of ours.
Did you?
Yeah.
Lawn gone.
And at the bottom of the garden, on the brothers' design, we've got rid of the lawn here and got a paved area. So we now need to make a decision on which one, because we can only have one of them. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
It's decision time.
Hello.
So, the design we've gone for is...
Oh, that's good. And you didn't like the pond, so how comes you went for mine?
Didn't not like the pond, it was just the fact that it was going to get full of leaves. The
So
pond was
perhaps
gonna be
we
full
get
of leaves.
rid of the pond,
Get rid of the pond.
spend the money somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I loved the decking at the top. So, if we can get maybe rid of some of the lawn with the money that you might save from the pond.
I think I could probably come up
Maybe
with something that'll sort that out, yeah.
That would be great. That would be great.
Charlie's carried the day this time, but with Kim's concerns about that soggy lawn, she leaves determined to come up with something that will complement her very well-received design for the new deck.
Come on, lads, let's get this panel out.
It's a bright start to the day in Manchester. And while Charlie is working on her design rethink, landscapers Lee,
You're a bit taller than me.
Andy and Steve and project manager Bowen are climbing into Dorothy's death trap.
Watch yourself on these steps, lads. They're really slippy when it gets wet.
The steps are dangerous and the only access to the lower garden, so this ship is going to have to be run tightly today.
The main construction today is going to be putting in the new steps, so first thing we need to do is clear everything in the garden, work from the back of the garden forward. So first thing first, turf up, lads.
Crack on, lads.
All right, mate.
In fact, the access for this job is so dodgy, Bowen's even recruited a couple of extra pairs of hands to give themselves a fighting chance. Since the only way to get waste out and new materials in is over the garden wall, the team set about making temporary steps and ramps to help them clamber and barrow their way through this tricky job.
Andy, look. 3D tattoo.
Cool.
The landscape team don't know yet what Charlie's going to come up with for the lower area, but there's one thing they are clear about. That turf has got to go. Meanwhile, Lee's fitting the first upright support for Charlie's flying deck. While Andy's trying to get moving on the new steps.
So I've created a seat to rest my weary back on.
This garden is going to be a real challenge. Lifting every barrow of turf over the wall and squeezing past each other up and down those narrow steps is exhausting and time-consuming. And makes for a logistical nightmare.
I'm basically building this step, but these lads are coming now and they're carrying the hardcore through. So I can't carry on with my step till these guys have got all this hardcore in, and then I'll put my step in and they obviously won't kick it over. Other than that, we're all right.
And with Charlie and the Rich brothers due back soon, it's all hands to the deck. Well, OK, it's only Lee's hands on the deck.
That's it, tea break.
By the time Charlie and the Rich brothers are due, the steps are nearing completion. And the deck is shaping up nicely. But with the weather turning miserable, this garden needs a burst of renewed enthusiasm.
This is not good. Rain, liquid sunshine. So this garden's all about accessing the birds and getting lots of birds to come in the garden. So I want some, you know, feeders and bird tables and perches, but I don't want them to look like...
Yeah, traditional.
Traditional. I want them to look quite fun and fancy.
Harry's always chirping off anyway, so perch are doing well.
OK. And then I really need to talk to Kim, so I have to do a bit of more sketching.
Sometimes good, sometimes bad.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
Right, see ya. Good luck.
Charlie's come back to the garden with a new idea in mind. Will it get Kim's seal of approval?
Morning, Kim.
Morning, Charlie.
Now, we left things a bit vague about the bottom of the garden, didn't we? Yes, so the top's staying the same.
Right.
I feel that we need to get rid of the lawn because maintenance is going to be a problem and we're getting rid of the pond.
Yes.
But what I'm thinking is that we'll extend the steps a bit and then maybe have like a little patio here with lots of native planting round for the birds.
Right.
But then to make it a bit more formal, put a nice bit of yew hedging behind so you feel enclosed, a bit like a Parisian patio out on the boulevard or something like that.
Sounds lovely.
Redesign finalised, no time to waste.
All right, excellent.
We better get on and hope the rain goes away.
Yeah, good luck. Thanks a lot.
Happily, the weather hasn't hindered progress in the garden.
Well, this is looking great. Decks coming on, steps have been sorted, so they're nice and even risers. They've made them wider and extended them out, which really opens this lower half of the garden up. And you want to come down and sort of get involved.
Now Charlie needs to mark out her new patio area so the landscapers can crack on and lay the paving.
What do you think about that, Andy, yeah?
That looks okay. We can sort that.
This plan really makes good use of Dorothy's existing plants.
So that's going to be the sort of staggered patio area. The borders have become much bigger. So Kim and Dot have got some really lovely shrubs here already. So we've got Pieris and we've got the laurels, evergreens, which birds love evergreen shrubs for roosting in and nesting in. So we can get some then native shrubs around here, and this will really bulk this area up so the birds will hop along the shrubs and up to the deck area so Dot can see the birds much more easily.
Besides new plants, Charlie has come up with another idea to attract birds to the garden. Out on the front drive, the Rich brothers are puzzling this one out.
So what we're doing is we're making something that has a multifunctional use. So it's going to be a little framework for climbers to climb up. It's going to be something quite sculptural, so again, it's something nice to look at. But then most importantly, it's somewhere the birds can sit, and then obviously Dot can watch them.
Yeah, I think it's nice to have something unique that actually brings birds into the garden. And we've got this vertical post at the middle, and then we've got these horizontal laths. And those laths have been cut to the form of a leaf shape, so it creates that lovely bit of structure.
And just to attach it, what we're doing is we're putting in 2 screws per lath, and that's just so you don't get a pivot point and doesn't twist around.
This has cost probably about £5 to make, but I think dotted throughout the garden, it's going to really make a nice little feature.
Oh, stand her up.
Right, one down, a few more to go.
Can't wait.
Back in the garden, the hard landscaping is nearing completion.
Ooh, first 2 shrubs coming into the garden.
And Charlie can start placing her bird-friendly plants.
This area here is all going to be planting, which will be wonderful because it will screen this construction, but also it will encourage the birds down to this end of the garden. Right, so Luke's busy cladding the side of the deck, which will look like a great big wall, but with the planting in front of it, it will break it up. And I've got a couple of ideas to add a bit of interest there.
Hey, Charlie. Oh, look at that. Life made easy with these steps.
Look at that!
Is that the hole for it?
Not quite. I love those.
Then they look cool.
They look really cool. And with a couple of climbers going up them, I got some really nice honeysuckles.
Ooh,
that'd
gorgeous.
Be nice. How many have you made? How many have you made? One.
Just one at the moment. Oh,
okay. I think maybe 2 or 3 down here, but it'd be quite nice to pick it up again.
Yes.
Up on the deck, I think.
That's nice. Well, Dot can see them from there. So
yeah.
if you go rest on there, then that's perfect. A couple of different sizes.
Yeah.
Happy days. Right, I'll go put them in.
With time pressing on, Charlie's feeling the pressure and the damp.
I must have been a bad woman in my last life, I tell you.
But a dribble of rain isn't going to stop this team. Andy's pointing the new paving, and Lee's got the deck covered. So, not a bad time for Charlie to stay out of the melee. She's out front in the carpentry workshop.
Wow, lovely, thank you.
Get out of my workbench area. I'm taking over. I'm taking over.
It's time to get stuck into one of her ideas for the front of the decking.
I'm making a very simple bird box, just using 1 plank of timber, but make sure that you go for timber that hasn't been treated because the treatment's not good for the birds. So I've got these old seed trays here. So we're going to put the nesting box here and then plant up the front so they've got their own front garden, which would be cute.
Following a simple design she found on the internet, Charlie has measured her plank of wood into 6 pieces to make the 4 sides of the box, the top and the bottom.
So that's the back. Then you've got your sides like that, and side like that. Then you've got the base, so you get the general gist of what's going on. And then we've got a roof. Woo! That will go on as well. So really a case of screwing it all together now. I think that's going to be the next step.
Sounds simple.
Oh, I haven't got enough hands here.
Do you want a hand, Charlie?
Oh, no, I might be dangerous, though. That's the only thing.
That's my middle name.
What?
Harry Danger Rich.
You're not sanding those away to nothing, are you? Well,
Just so that there's no splinters for the bird feet.
Yeah, crucial.
Got to be careful not to split the wood.
Do you make many bird boxes, Charlie?
No, does it show? Lee will probably cry when he sees this.
Carpentry Corner does look like it could do with some advice from the resident expert. Mind you, Lee looks like he's got quite enough on his own plate.
Happy?
Happy. You can see the basic box shape now. So there's going to be a lid on here, but I need to put the hole in. Depending on how big a hole you put in the front of the box, you'll get different birds. We're going to put one in that's 25 millimetres, so that's going to be for all the smaller birds, things like blue tits and marsh tits, that type of thing. You want to make sure that the bottom of the hole is about 100 millimetres up. That way, you know, if a cat came along, they won't be able to sort of put their paw in and get the baby birds out. And that's going to be the bottom of the hole. Oh, that's that. Right, so that's your hole in there. And then the roof's going to go on like so. So it overhangs, so it keeps the front of the bird box dry. And then it's a case of attaching the roof. So I'm just using some of this rubber, put a strip of that and some clouts.
After attaching the roof, the basic box is complete.
Then we just have a little flip up the lid, keeps the rain out. And I'm going to pop it in a little seed tray like that and plant up this area here. Quite fun, isn't it?
But before that, there's fun to be had planting up this area here. And as if Charlie hasn't got enough decisions to make.
Charlie.
Hey.
Oh, your
trees.
Trees?
And
yeah,
then
they
leaves.
look like trees out of Toy Town or something like that, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think two up the top, I think will be quite nice just up there in that corner.
Nice,
like
yeah.
that.
So let's put that big one in front of that hydrangea. And I don't want them like flat on, I want them angled on, so like that.
Yeah.
And then back a bit. Okay, and the other little one then.
Two little, one small.
Too small.
Nailed it.
Just about there then.
Nice.
Huh?
Yep. Perfect.
Cool.
Like
Needs
it
to,
a lot.
yeah.
All that remains is to knock the perches into place, carefully protecting the brothers' masterpieces with an offcut.
Should have some little decorations on here at Christmas time as well.
Yeah. Christmas baubles.
Yeah.
And ding dong merrily on high,
That's it.
the bird perches are finished at last. Time is starting to run out, and none of the new plants have gone in yet. So Charlie gets a spade in the ground at the bottom of the new steps.
I've placed out a lot of the plants, but first of all I want to get this yew in because this is adding the structures to the garden, no matter what time of year it is. The other great thing about it is, of course, it gets the berries on that, and the birds love the berries that come on yew. It's very slow growing, which is great when you want to make a hedge because it means that you don't have to keep clipping it and clipping it. I know we take some time for the hedge to establish, but once it has, you know, there's not much maintenance to do. And the other thing with hedges, people put hedges in around the boundaries of a garden, which is great, but what I've done here is I'm making these little hedges actually in the centre of the garden, so it'll make this patio area here feel quite enclosed.
Being evergreen, the yew hedges will give permanent colour and structure, even in the winter. Lee has finished the main deck structure and is adding a final but extremely important feature, the handrail, designed both to stop anyone from tumbling over the edge and to give Dorothy support should she like to stand to view the rest of the garden. Simple, practical details like this can make all the difference in ensuring that no one is excluded from a garden because of inadequate design. An approach that is supported by Thrive, a charity that promotes the health-giving benefits of gardening. Its Trunkwell Garden project near Reading is home to a range of small gardens, each designed around a specific disability and showing how clever design and thoughtful planting can meet those needs. Jan Brody is one of Thrive's senior horticultural therapists.
So this is our Hearts and Minds garden, and it was built for people who've had a stroke in mind. So they might have partial side paralysis or be a wheelchair user, and so there's various features of this garden that aim to help that. So we've got raised beds, there are a few of them around the garden, plenty of seating areas so that you can take frequent rests while you're doing your gardening. This bed here particularly has space to get a wheelchair under so that everything is right at the height that you need to work at it. Over in the borders as well, we've got these leaning posts which just help you to lean into the border to manage a plant perhaps at the back, so you can rest onto it while you do your work, and again just helps you to come back from it as well.
Because sensory stimulation comes in many forms, there are a host of ways to plan a garden that's designed to please visitors for whom one or more senses may be impaired.
This is our out of sight garden, designed for people with visual impairment in mind. So this garden really appeals to the other senses. So you've got the olfactory senses, lots of smells like the lavender plants, some really nice tactile plants like the stachys, whose common name is lamb's ear. In the garden as well, we've incorporated a water feature. This one, nice tall pillars where the water cascades down. So again, you got that sound, and it's something that everybody comes in just wants to touch. This feature with the cascading water just invites you to come and put your hands on it and enjoy that sensory experience.
People living with dementia face particular challenges in the garden, especially around safety and security. But a few carefully considered pointers can make all the difference.
This is our secret garden. So a really important aspect is the layout of the garden. So all the way around there's a low fence which gives just a sense of security. So you're closed in, so you've got this safe area to work in. This garden is a circular design, so it's always going to bring you back round to where you were. So you're never having to make this decision, you're never having to remember where it is that you've come from. You can always see where you are. There's no inclines to navigate, there's no trip hazards, there's no steps to manage. This is the second half of the secret garden, and it's designed to be just that bit more passive. So people can come in and they can have perhaps a cup of tea, a bit of rest just on the bench. This is a place for being peaceful and just collecting your thoughts.
There's not much peace and quiet in Manchester. The deck and patio are all but complete, and most of the planting is now in. But the team still have some important jobs to get finished. Charlie and Andy are creating art.
So this is the bespoke bird perches come plant trellises come sculpture. So planter here, I think this is just going to look pretty. Then this is going to be the structure one, but I want to see what that looks like, so before you fix it on. Oh no, that's really cool. That's really cool, I like that.
And whilst David has been delegated to plant climbers to scramble up the lower bird perches, on the top deck, Charlie's got another good plant design tip.
The garden's really coming together now. What I'm really pleased about is the light timber that we've used up here, we've picked up design-wise down the bottom with the trellis sculptures, and it sort of brought the garden totally together, and we're doing that with the planting as well. So I've got one rhododendron up here on the deck, but then I also have two down at the bottom. So it just brings a bit of continuity to the garden with the colours that we're using and also the structures.
Rhododendrons like an acidic soil, so planting it in a container like this allows Charlie to give it specialist compost, also known as ericaceous compost, which will help it thrive. Those miniature bird gardens still haven't been planted yet though. Lee's on hand to help Charlie finish her hanging garden of birdilon.
I reckon that one there.
This really is a garden of carpentry ingenuity today. The Rich brothers have come up with a novel idea of their own. Let's see if they can impress the master carpenter.
The decking's complete now, and it really does make a difference being able to be quite elevated over the garden. So Charlie's done a great job integrating these leaf sculptures into the terrace, but it is kind of missing something. So we're going to use these two beautiful planks of cherry and make a bespoke seating area.
Yeah, so what we're going to do, have these two bits of cherry on the top, they're the bits you sit on, and then as legs, we're going to use two planters. So they're going to go either side, and then within them, nice lavender shrubs coming from them, so that'll infuse the air with a nice bit of smell. But really, so these are about £40 per piece, and then with the planters as well, you're probably looking about overall £100. So for a bench with this kind of rustic quality and of this size, I think that's great value for money.
The idea is to rest the planks across the two planters and to make small openings for the stems of the plants to pass through. Charlie has chosen standard lavenders, providing a gorgeous blast of scent to anyone sitting on the bench. A standard is a shrubby plant or tree that's been trained into an upright lollipop shape like this, ideal for planting through the holes in the bench seat.
Harry's looking pretty nice, mate.
Yeah.
Really cool. I love the way it's got that kind of rustic middle line, but then actually this is quite like a modern little chunk, isn't it, in there? So it kind of contrasts it. It looks quite cool.
It's good fun as well.
Yeah. Right, the sides are up.
I'm in.
Right, hold on. That's lovely. Right, so we brace it from the bottom then.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
That looks good.
Do you like it?
Watering might be a little challenge. You need a little watering can. I feel this space is great, isn't it? It's a big space. I do sort of feel like lording it over the birds from up here.
I think if I was a bird, I'd be in that one there.
Which one? That one?
The birdhouse.
Yeah, but you might go from the birdhouse and then pop to the restaurant.
Alongside her bird box, Charlie's positioned a food tray for Dot to add feed to, and she's made an insect hotel. This will attract insects which will further encourage the birds.
What a treat. What a treat.
And there's a treat in store for David. He's the lucky one who gets to lie on his back on the soaking wet deck and dribble sawdust into his own eyes.
Stop messing about.
Oh, I'm going to warm my ear. Oh, done.
Knock around.
Get me out of here. I'm claustrophobic.
Shall I pull you by your legs?
Don't pull me because it'll go up my top.
And as everyone mucks in to complete the final soggy touches...
Don't start hosing down until we've got the plants in.
They're nearly at the finishing post.
Right, you can hose down as your heart's content now.
And with that, Dorothy and Kim's new garden is ready to be revealed. Before they called in the garden rescue team, Dorothy and Kim's garden was a crumbling death trap. With nowhere for Dorothy to sit safely and an unusable bog of a lawn edged with lackluster planting. Now it's been completely reinvented as a bird-friendly and Dorothy-friendly haven. Charlie used the £4,000 budget to create a large, safe seating area at the top and an attractive patio below. Charlie spent £1,500 on the new deck and handrail, which now gives Dorothy a wheelchair-accessible space to enjoy the whole garden from. She spent a further £850 on the new steps and patio, providing slip-free access from top to bottom of the garden, and a cosy new seating area from which wet feet are forever banished. The yew hedging set the budget back by £100. Charlie also spent £35 on a beautiful magnolia tree, and the colourful rhododendrons came in at £13.50 each. The local birds should be delighted with Charlie's homemade bird boxes and all the wildlife-friendly planting that will provide the food and nesting potential that will bring them to the garden in droves. The sculptural bird perches came in at £40, and the Rich Brothers cherry wood bench cost a total of £150, and a little discomfort for David. It's been a tough and wet day for the team. So, have they fulfilled Kim and Dorothy's brief?
What do you think?
That is, as my mum used to say, coming from Norfolk, it's beautiful.
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 So all this space, because access was a big issue for you, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. It's lovely.
And then if you have a little pier over there,
Oh,
we've put in a bird nest hotel, and these are lavenders.
Oh, they
I
smell beautiful.
love lavender.
You smell that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice.
These little wooden trees are nice.
Look at that. Thank you very much. Loves the tree sculptures. Not bad.
And as you can see, we got rid of the lawn,
Yes,
so it's much more practical having that as a seating area.
yeah.
I really like the bench.
Yeah.
Beautiful piece of wood, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cherry.
And she loves the bench as well. Looks like she likes all the bits that we did.
Do you think your birds will like this?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because I sit in there, I say to Kim, oh, look, there's birds in me bird bath and all that, you know. They're down in it all the time.
Yeah?
If the big birds come for a drink, the little birds come for a splash.
Lovely.
Yeah.
You can see yourself spending a bit of time out here.
I can put music on and dance out here.
Oh, okay.
So you can do a little dance.
Get up there, go on.
It seems the makeover is going to have Dorothy dancing for joy. But what does Kim think?
And then we've got our little secret patio.
Mm-hmm.
So we've sort of exchanged the grass for a patio.
Mm-hmm. I think it'll make a huge difference. The grass before was never used. It was too wet, we couldn't sit down here, so at least this is something we can put some chairs, a little table.
And a really nice little spot to sit.
Yeah, really cool.
Do you think it's value for money?
Absolutely. This is the first day in the rain. And
In
it's
the
still,
rain.
And it's still lovely.
I have to say the rain is ideal because it's great because we've been planting, so it's a nice gentle rain and they will all root down really well.
No, it's fabulous.
Well, I hope you and your mum really enjoy using the garden.
I'm sure we will, and I'm sure all of the people that visit us will as well, more so now. It's beautiful, thank you so much.
Well, you're very welcome.
The last word goes to Dorothy. Has the team delivered her dream garden?
So do you think the garden's been rescued?
Definitely.
Well and truly.
Yes, I'm really pleased with it.
Good.